Every December, we hear a lot about giving. No matter what you're celebrating this holiday season, you're sure to be inundated with messages of spending time with loved ones, giving thoughtful gifts, and giving back to others. These are the things that make December the most wonderful time of the year, right? Well, according to science, giving actually does make us feel good. Today, I'm joined by Sara Konrath, Associate Professor at Indiana University, who researches the science of empathy and generosity. Sara will explain how giving makes us happy and how it brings a bunch of other benefits too. Plus, she's got some tips to help you get and give the most this holiday season. Sara, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk to you. It feels very timely because most of us have this understanding that giving time and money makes us happy. And when I was thinking about this concept, my mind went back to like holiday stories about Scrooge and the Grinch finding joy when they become more generous. But there's actually science that backs this up. What does it say?
Well, actually, what's interesting is even if we have like stories in our culture that share sort of the true meaning and the joy of giving, like when you actually ask people directly, which one will make you happier, like receiving money or giving it away, actually, most people are like, yeah, definitely receiving it. They think they're going to be happier when they receive it. But when you actually test that and you give them a chance, half of them a chance to give away money versus get money and keep it for themselves, you actually find that giving makes them happier. So it's kind of a bit of some people might know themselves well and have self-awareness that giving makes them feel happy. But on average, most of us just don't really understand. Like we think that receiving feels better, but not necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how people have that assumption. But I mean, I think that we all have some general understanding of the joy that comes with like making others happy too, or being altruistic. So that's great that science has also shown that that's correct. So your research actually looks beyond just like the personal joy that giving gives us. It's also looked into some other benefits that really surprised me. You found that giving makes people both more popular and more attractive. Can you share some more details about those studies?
One of the studies was mine. I'll talk about that one first. But the study on attractiveness, we call it the good-looking giver effect. And what we found and documented in a few studies with different samples of people is that people who give in various ways, whether it's volunteering or helping or giving money, those people are rated by others as more attractive. Now, the important thing here is that other people don't know whether they gave or not. So they're just looking at the person and saying, how does, hot or not, is this person attractive? And separately, that person has filled out a questionnaire answering some questions about what type of giving behaviors they do. And of course, because we're scientists, we control for all these other things. Like it's not because of their age or gender or how rich they are, all the other things that might make people seem more attractive or more likely to give. So it's actually kind of a neat effect. And we kind of think of it, part of your beauty routine might be to, not only put on your lipstick, but also maybe you should do something nice for someone else.
I love that. And then the other study is about how popular people are.
Yeah, so there's lots of research on this topic. It's kind of there's social benefits to giving. So one study that I love was not done by me, but the other researchers, but they asked preteens to either do 3 kind acts or to actually just do 3 new things that week. And they followed them over time. And then they later on talked to their peers and they asked sort of like, how likable are these people? How popular are these people? And what they found is that the young people who did the kind acts ended up being rated by their peers as more popular. So that's kind of interesting because it goes against that myth of like the popular mean girls. And it's actually the nice kids who are getting the attention. But even among older adults, there's been research that has followed them over time when they're volunteering. And they found that people who volunteer end up gaining more friends. They increase in their social networks over time. Whereas people who are not volunteering are actually decreasing in their social networks when they're older adults. So it just shows you that this is kind of a lifelong way of being connected to others and being, having friends. And I want to say one more thing here, because I think this is a really exciting area, the social benefits of giving. Because obviously when we're giving to others, right? So that's the whole point of it. But when it comes to dating, I'm really interested in what happens there. And the research finds that the number one thing that both men and women are looking for is kindness. They want to have a partner who's caring and generous. And then when you follow single people over time, the research finds that people who are more generous at the beginning, when you follow them over time, they're more likely to get into a relationship. And then in relationships, the more generous people have more satisfying relationships. And that goes into just sort of many different areas of their connections with others, but they feel more connected. They have happier friendships, and they have happier romantic relationships.
Wow. Okay. So I think that's really cool. I love that little bit about dating. And it kind of makes sense too, that if you're getting out there and doing things, you're going to meet different people as well. So that's really interesting. And at the risk of sounding like an infomercial, that's not all. There are also some physical benefits to giving as well, right? I mean, when we first spoke, you said that volunteering could actually make a difference in your life expectancy.
Right. Yes, exactly. That's actually one of the most established findings in this research, is that volunteering is associated with what we call a lower risk of mortality. So less likelihood of dying in older adults. But even in young people, there's a Canadian experiment actually that was done at University of British Columbia that had some high school students volunteer for a few weeks, and then other students didn't volunteer. They were just in the control group. And what they found is that the young volunteers actually had more physical health benefits within the short period of the study. So it shows, and it's just cardiovascular benefits. So it shows even among young people, there's physical health benefits that happen very quickly. But as you age, of course, you're higher risk for many health problems. So one positive health benefit is from volunteering. It's just, I think, partly because you're meeting new people, you're less stressed out when you're volunteering, and you're also getting some more physical activity. So there's many different benefits of volunteering that can help you live longer.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, as a copywriter at heart, I really feel like there's a great line in there about giving being good for your heart, literally.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really cool.
It is.
So look, all of this sounds really great. There are so many benefits of volunteering or giving money. And so let's say that I've decided, yes, I need to do more of this in my life and reap all these benefits. Do you have any guidelines to optimize my generosity and what I get out of it?
Yes, I do. And actually, I thought about these guidelines during the pandemic, because a lot of people were, the giving behaviors changed quite a bit. A lot of us were at home, and we were trying to think about how do we help others who are in need right now, or friends and family as well. And so I reviewed some research, and I came up with a vax that we can all take to increase our giving, to have more joy of giving. So it's literally what it sounds like. Well, sort of. It's not VAX, it's VACCS. And I'll go through each of them. So there's 5 ways you can maximize your joy of giving. So one is just variety. So just like you don't want to eat the same meal every single day, we also need variety in our giving. So make sure when you're giving to different people in different ways. You're kind of changing it up. And kind of adding some spice and interest in the type of giving activities that you have in your constellation of giving. The second, the letter A, is for attitudes. So I've found, and other people have also found this in their research, that having an altruistic attitude, so giving because you care about the other person or the recipient, or because it's important, to help, those are the people who are actually experiencing the most benefits of giving. In fact, in my work, I followed older adults over time, and I found that those who said that the reason they volunteered was because they cared about others, they actually were the only ones who were less likely to die. So if they said that they volunteered because maybe other reasons, like they wanted to get out of the house or any other personal benefit, Like that, those are all great reasons, but those people did not actually experience the physical health benefit of volunteering. So it's only for those who are focused on others when they're giving. And so if you want to maximize your benefits of giving, just, think about others and how you can help them. So that's the A. That's the A. And next is the C. There's two C's. One C is for choice. Now, I think a lot of schools have mandatory volunteering programs, and sometimes you feel like you have to give, you're obligated to give. But the research shows that if you're required to do it, I mean, this is kind of a no duh. Like, it doesn't feel as good when someone else tells you what to do. So,
right.
Yeah. So
you're being voluntold.
Exactly, voluntold. So that's not good for people, for people's well-being. And people feel much more joy when they are choosing something that is meaningful to them, and that, basically they get that choice. So for those of you who are thinking about volunteering programs in schools, or maybe even you work for a nonprofit and you're thinking through how do you make your volunteers happy, giving people choice will really help with that. The other C is being concrete. So this is kind of interesting because I think a lot of times we want to give because we want to help, we want to make others happy, we want to do these big things with our giving. But in reality, like it's really hard to do the big things. Like, I can't make you happy. Like, that's a huge thing. But I probably could do something to make you smile. So thinking about our giving in terms of small, concrete goals that are attainable. And the research finds that when we can give and we can meet a small goal when we give, it makes us feel happier than when we're trying to make a change that's basically impossible or very difficult to measure or notice. And so that's, and now we're at BACC. Okay, so the S, social. I love that. I always like the social stuff. I get excited. but the research shows that when you give with other people, that actually maximizes your joy of giving. As an example, one study found that the volunteers who were working with others at their volunteer jobs had double the happiness from volunteering compared to those who just did kind of behind the scene tasks. And there are many other examples of, you can imagine that, doing things with friends together, or maybe deciding to make a joint holiday present as part of your office, doing it together. That actually helps people feel happier. So there are pretty simple techniques you can use, and just be more mindful of the ways that you give. And I think it's okay to feel joy when you give. I mean, I don't think it makes it selfish at all. I think it actually, I think mutually beneficial giving is really healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good perspective on giving, and a very, realistic one. I love the point about choice and how volunteering or giving should be a thing that you choose to do. And the social stuff makes me excited too. I mean, I can totally see how giving in a group would feel kind of more fulfilling as well, because I can see how it would fulfill some of our social needs in general of making friends and being part of a group. So before we finish, I think it's important to know that these benefits don't just come from giving on a larger scale, I guess. So giving money to charity or volunteering with a nonprofit, those things are really great, and they bring lots of joys, lots of joy and health benefits. But these benefits can also come from more individual acts of generosity, like maybe helping out a new friend or giving something really special to a loved one. And since it's the holiday season, do you have any guidelines about what makes a good gift to someone?
Yep. There's research on this too. You'll find out there's research on everything. That's what we know. What at least scientists like to believe that. But yes, there's you're right that any type of giving can help, can make you feel good, and it doesn't have to be through a nonprofit, although that's one mechanism. But you can give to friends and family members, and of course during the holidays or for birthdays or other types of special occasions, you give gifts. And I don't know if you're like this, but I know that I struggle with going, how do I get a gift that this person will really enjoy? How do I make them smile? Things like that. But really, it's hard to know, right? So there's my kitty on my lap, just in case anyone's wondering if I have a tail. That's not my tail. But anyway, I struggle with that too, and there's some research. So one suggestion is to actually do what Santa does. So Santa asks the children to give him a wish list, right? And he then picks something from the wish list, and he gives that gift to the children, and the children usually are pretty happy about that, and that's backed up by science. So good work, Santa. You have it right. So just ask people for a wish list, and just say, I still want to surprise you, I want to delight you, but give me some hints about what you might like. And the research finds that actually recipients really appreciate that. They actually want they want to know, to get something they've asked for. But unfortunately, the givers, what we think is like, oh, no, we have to read their minds. We have to be creative. We have to do something different. But it's not about us. It's about them. And that's what giving is really about. It's about the recipient. So definitely check in with them. And you can ask directly, or you can just find a wish list, ask for a wish list. I mean, there's different ways to do this, but people really appreciate it. Another thing that givers believe is that if they spend more money, the recipient will like the gift more. So we often kind of get into this spiral of like, oh no, I've got to spend as much as possible. And then, and then January comes along and we're like, oh wow, credit card bills or whatever, right? So we have to, but in reality, when you ask recipients, what they like, we find out in research that actually the amount that is spent is not correlated at all. It's not related to the appreciation of the gift. So what recipients are saying is it's not about the money, it's actually about the thought. So spend some time thinking about this, make it meaningful, make it about the connection between us. And that's what really matters. And there are ways to do that actually without spending money. I love the research that looks at the difference between giving experiences versus giving material objects, like things you can hold and see. And that research, many studies show that it's actually more beneficial to give an experience. The way I talk about it to my kids and my family is, what memory would you like? What memory are we going to have or make together for the holidays? And my kids get to pick, for example, something neat that we can do together. It might be going to a special event. Of course, you can spend money. There's sometimes things like that cost money, but it might be that we create a song or a poem for each other, a piece of art. We might maybe make a special dish. There's many different things you can do that don't cost money, or if they cost money, they're really more about time and thought, and creating something positive together. So the research shows that recipients like it more. They actually feel happier when they receive an experience. Also, the givers feel happier. And most importantly, the two people together feel more connected and bonded from having experiences together. So I try to make it a practice to give an experience whenever possible, but also, my kids still want to see a stocking. So they get something little, they get little things, but they really just, they often kind of talk about, it's kind of neat when we're out in the community and they're like, do you remember when we did this thing for our holiday present? And just kind of, I think it lasts longer. I don't know, parents out there probably can relate to me, but giving a kid a toy, right? Which is kind of cool and fun to see them open the box and then there's a toy. But then the same day, that toy is off in the corner somewhere and they've forgotten about it and they never play with it again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Or they do play with it until the new one comes around, right?
Exactly. So, I think the experiences, they'll last a lifetime. They will always be part of memories and kind of family history. So for me, that is working well. But everyone's different. I think the most important advice about giving is it's not about you. It's really about the other person who's receiving. So whether it's a nonprofit and giving them what they actually need, an unrestricted gift, or whether it's a person and making sure that your friend is getting what they actually asked for, that's the most important part of giving. And when we give in a way that is good for others, it's also good for us.
Right. So, it really is the thought that counts. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I'm really glad that you could come on today, Sara. I've learned so much about philanthropy, and also you've actually made me rethink how I'm going to go about holiday presents this year as well. Specifically, presents that our office, we get together and give to a family that we're assigned. So I'm definitely going to approach those gifts differently, and also just giving to my friends and family as well this year. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your expertise with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.